Good afternoon, and welcome to this special Action News series called Raising Readers, where we wanted to come and spend some time with you. We are all, of course, in this world where we're trying to figure out what to do with our children. We're all at home. So many school systems have said it will be virtual learning, but even beyond that, wanting to fill our children's needs. And one of the places we're able to do that is through the power of reading. Everything you read makes you a better thinker, a better speaker. And so that's why we wanted to be in this space with you today, thinking about all the children around our region and what can we do to help you help them become better readers, because they may be shut in at this time, not able to go and do all the things they would normally do with their friends or through school. But you put that book in their hands and you teach them to read, and all of a sudden it's another outlet. And to join us in this effort today, we have two special guests. Let me tell you a little bit about them. But before I do that, I want to tell you about some initiatives that we're going through right here at the station. So this Raising Readers initiative, we will be doing this every week for 4 weeks starting today, coming to you with different guests and on different topics. And so if you're able to check in, we think it's a great resource and we love having you in this community. First of all, we're going to have John Butler, who's known as Cousin John. He's a Philly native sports journalist and educator who was passionate about so many things and wanted to turn them into children's books. And the Chase books are filled with adventures. They feature African American characters that all children, no matter what background, can relate to. John's mission, he says, is to introduce children to the world of literacy, all while instilling valuable life lessons. Cousin John's Story Time presents an opportunity for recognition of the ability to allow children to connect with an author who looks like them. How many kids will look at him and say, maybe I can write a book one day? And he's proud of the work that he's been doing as a West Philadelphia reading captain. And he says nothing matters more to him than literacy. We'll spend some time with John. Here we go. We're going to welcome John. Let's see if John pops up. I feel like one of those exciting stories that I do with my kids sometimes. There's John. The character popped up. So excited to see you, John. How are you?
Great to see you. Well, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. I'm so excited to be with you and to talk about this topic. And I will start where so many parents have questions. You know, I told the story about my Max and wondering what it would take to turn the corner for him to become a great reader. And I'm sure you get that question all the time from parents who want these books but don't know if their kids are going to actually take them and really start reading and get on the road. What is your number one tip to parents in terms of helping their child become readers and being great readers?
Sure. I think the first step is carving out the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kids often do what they see. So if you're spending time reading and that's naturally what you're doing in the home, your child's going to say, okay, this is the time where we pick up books. During that time period, have a variety of books for your child to take a look at, thumb through the pages, and read together. Ask questions at the end of the book. Did you like the story? I think oftentimes we forget to ask children those questions and just assume that like we went to start to finish that this was your favorite, right? What did you like about it? What else do you want to read about? What else do you want to learn about? And just go through that trial and error period to kind of figure out where the child interest might lie.
Yeah, I heard a great story once about a family where they had a rule that one night a week everybody could bring a book to the dinner table. And so
Nice.
you might think that's a little weird, but they learned that, you know, if you love books, you take them everywhere, including over your mashed potatoes. Well, tell me a little bit about the importance of reading right now in this time when kids are so confined in ways that they're not used to being confined.
Sure. School was different to end last year, and it's going to be different to start this year as well, right?
Yep.
Not the norm at all. It's important that we're keeping up with those skills and making sure that even though the structure of going to school from 8 to 3 isn't the same every day, physically in class, that we're still getting some of those valuable tools and kind of sharpening those as we go along. Often as adults, we tell children, whatever you're passionate about, practice, right?
Hmm.
If you love basketball or baseball, we tell them to practice these things over and over again. Well, reading's the same way. It's a skill that our children are going to grow up and use every single day. So we should be practicing it just as much as we're using it. And I think that's the most important part during this time, to make sure that there's not a day that goes by where your child isn't actively reading and becoming a better reader.
So, what do you tell parents who may have children say, oh, this is boring. I'd rather be doing Minecraft or Xbox or something else. I'd rather be watching TV. I'd rather be outside. What do you do when your child goes, I don't want to read?
I think that's where that negotiation comes into play.
Treats.
Right. I think that's you're learning the early negotiation skills. But it's about carving out the time, and as the child finds things that they're interested in. So maybe there's a favorite television show. Does that television show have a book that's correlated to the show, or a book written by one of the writers on the show? Or if they're interested in video games, maybe you can find a book that has to do with the child playing video games in the book. And does that take some work for the parent as well? Absolutely. Like, the parent's going to have some homework to do there too. But when you take that time and that effort to show the child that you care about their desire to read, that's something that they can really see and identify with.
And what do you tell parents in terms of your best tips for finding books, finding interesting books? Do you tell them just go on Amazon and type in some keywords, or there's some lists, or there's some sites? Where do you tell them to go?
So there are two things. One, use Instagram, right? Like, every author, every book club has a social media page. Like,
Yep.
take some time, stop looking at sneakers and vintage cars, right? And focus some energy on that for a little bit, just to kind of see what other parents are suggesting or recommending, and seeing what new is available. And also reach out to your network. You have other families that have children that are reading books as well. Maybe swap books back and forth or have conversations. I know getting involved just in different organizations that are a part of the community as a reading captain. All of the reading captains for the Read Butler program all enjoy children's books. So that's another opportunity to just get involved, create a community where these recommendations and suggestions for books are just going to start flying at you.
And I know that you particularly focus on diverse characters. And,
Yes.
anybody who's been to Uncle Bobby's bookstore in Germantown, it is just beautiful to go back and, he sells books, and the number of books out there that you don't even realize. And it's a wonderful resource to see all the books that have diverse characters. Will you explain to everybody why that's important, and why it's not just important for families of color, why all families can get something out of having a diverse bookshelf for their child?
Sure. I'll tell a quick story. I'm at a story time activity with a group of children. We're reading a book. At the end of each read, I always ask the children, do you have any questions? And a 7-year-old boy raised his hand and said, why are the characters in your book that color? And I said, what do you mean? He said, they're black. I said, well, I'm black, you're black, and so is
Why not?
right, like, so are some of your classmates. So why not? And he said, I didn't know that you could do that. So hearing that, I questioned how many other professions, jobs, careers, activities does this child think that he can't do because he doesn't see it? And what better way to make that change for him and children of all colors by putting it in books that they read on a daily basis?
It is amazing. It is amazing that, and also it just reminds kids of the point of books, which is the world is so big. Why
Yeah.
would you want to confine yourself in any way? And what does it do for the community, the more children who are readers?
I mean, it's so much that can be done there. Like, the more the children are reading, they're going to grow up to be strong readers. And literacy, whether it be reading a book or financial literacy or having the ability to understand all of the things that build us up as a community, we need people that can digest that information and make important decisions for us. And that's going to be our youth. So if we're getting them on the right track now, there's no telling the type of positive changes that we can have in the community moving forward.
And I always say everything's a reading opportunity when you're with your kid going down the street. What street is this? What's on the side of the building? Read that, billboard. Tell me what's on that. That every opportunity, reading. I remember somebody telling me, being a writer, how you speak reflects what you read. And the
Yeah.
better speaker you are, the better writer you are, it opens all kinds of doors. So I literally tell people the side of the cereal box, you never know what you will learn. The Nantucket Nectars, they always have a little fact on the inside of it. Read everything you can find. And I
It,
would imagine you say the same thing.
yes, and also like when you're reading, it's a form of a conversation with someone.
Hmm.
So you have the opportunity to speak with people through the words that you're reading, speak with people that have all different backgrounds, who communicate different ways, who have their own way of telling a story, to prevent that hesitance that might come if you're not accustomed to dealing with people that are outside of your direct family or direct community environment.
And I would imagine that there are some authors or some books that you love. Everybody's looking for recommendations. If you had to offer three books, will you give me one for elementary, middle, and high school? What would you suggest that people read?
That's a great question. For elementary, obviously the Chase book series. Chase
Of
learns
course.
is one of my favorite. Little Me Wants to Be is another great book. I still love the R.L. Stein series, and
Yes.
when I'm hearing it's very popular with children as well. So kind of dive in there because that'll give them an opportunity to also do some critical thinking about mystery and what could happen next.
Mhm.
Um, High school, that's a tough one. I like to challenge the high school students and just so interesting question. It might, depending on the child, I think it's interesting for children to take a look at the Philadelphia Negro by W.B. Du Bois. Um,
Oh, what a book.
I think it's a great opportunity for them to see what the city, see how the city is orchestrated, the city of Philadelphia, and just have a look at the history. You walk by streets every day and you don't realize the rich history that's there. So just to have an understanding of that, where children have come from, and also see the power of wanting to see a difference in your community. I think that book's a great opportunity for high schoolers to do that.
What a great seminal thinker. And to realize that of all the cities he and his wife could have gone to, they picked our city. And so many of the things that they talked about in that 1921 book, you read it now and it still applies. And there's so much to learn and to think to yourself, how could I update it? What would I say? That could
Sure.
be a great assignment.
Absolutely.
All right, John, we're going to say goodbye. Is there a final thought, anything you want to say before we go on to EB?
I just want to make sure, tell parents, reading's important. It's really an opportunity to set your child up for success moving forward. So, as I said, children do what they see. So make it an important activity in your life, and you'll be able to see the types of changes in reading that can happen for our children.
And you know what? Pull out that construction paper and tell them to write you a book. I think that's a good one too. You never know what you might be onto $1 million idea.
Listen, you never know. It's all about using your imagination and seeing where it can take you.
All right. Well, content is key, and get some of that content on the paper. It was so wonderful to spend time with you, John, and happy writing. We're going to say goodbye, and
All right.
then we're going to ask EB